Welcome to episode 230 of the Disorganized Wizards Club podcast. My name's Alex, I'm joined as always by my constant co-host, Cam.
Dude, it's time for a nap. I always get tired at 2:30.
We're a pair of automobile-based players that play just about anything and everything we can qualify for. We talk about decks, tournament stories, just about anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
We promise.
I swear.
I do solemnly swear. How's it going, Stelly?
I'm good. Lockdown got extended by at least another week, 2 weeks, something like that. So not great in that scenario, but we're getting by.
When was that announced? I actually hadn't heard.
They announced it the other day. It's extended until June 2nd, I think.
Wow. This is a super long lockdown.
Yeah, so almost like a week and a half extension. We were supposed to reopen originally, I think, a week from now, which would be May 21st, but back to June 2nd. So we'll have to wait and see if that sticks or if it's going to get pushed back again, because anything is possible here in Ontario.
I actually made a decision based on the fact that they might extend it. So I'm sort of glad that this plan has worked out. So I think I mentioned a few podcasts ago that I had started running more.
Oh, yeah.
And very unexpectedly, I have continued to keep running more.
Nice.
But my one ankle kept giving me issues. And I thought it was because I had cheap shoes, which was probably part of the reason. But anyway, so I probably need better shoes, either because my shoes suck or because my ankle's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not doing consultations in person, obviously, because we're super locked down. However, I didn't know they offered this, but you can just get one on Zoom. They offer them virtually.
Oh.
You just got to log in with a camera that you can put near the ground so they can see how your feet move. So I did that. Guy recommended a shoe. 20 minutes later, he recommended it. I left the Zoom call, phoned the nearest store, and they had one. So I told them I'd be there in 15 minutes for curbside pickup. Got some fancy new shoes.
Right on.
Yeah.
And?
Used them today. Yeah, it worked pretty good.
Nice.
Ankle not a sore. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Apparently, my right ankle had too much, too much pronation?
I don't know what that word means.
It's very patriotic.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
it means
sure.
it twists, it lands on the inside too much instead of landing
Okay.
flat.
Okay.
So you recommended these shoes that have foam rails along the side or something that compensate for any of that. And yeah, it seems pretty good. So
Nice.
I got some fancy new tech.
Right
some
on.
new kicks.
Right on. And I just want to be able to go back to the gym again. I've been running too, but man, I haven't worked out in so long. It's getting to me.
Mm-hmm. It's really weighing on you not having those weights.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, shut up. Exactly. Speaking of things that are weighing on me, was a pretty somber past week in Magic as WotC made a relatively large announcement that affects it affects the entire competitive Magic scene. We finally got a look at what they've been thinking for organized play post-COVID. And the TLDR, basically, is that they still aren't ready to tell us. But
yeah, you say we got to look at what they were thinking. I doubt that.
But
they told us one little piece of information. I have no idea what they're thinking.
The big thing is that MPL and Rivals is dead. They're killing it. They're taking it out back with a shotgun, putting it out of its misery.
They're making them play a few more league weekends and stuff first, but then they're shooting them.
Yeah, so the MPL and Rivals League will last through next competitive season, as the players have been competing for that all year so far. But after that, it's done. And my immediate thought is good. It's been a massive failure. And yeah, definitely did not come close to doing what I think they thought it would. And really just, I think, alienated the majority of the competitive players in Magic.
Yeah, you said the news was somber, but I don't think this is actually that disheartening for most people. Like, MPL and Rivals was such a small group. It was so exclusive, very like narrow paths to get into it. You needed to spend so much time. And in this like trickle of information they've given us, they've mentioned wanting to make organized play or competitive play more of an open format, broader entries, more sort of easy access for the masses, which I think is all good because, yeah, it felt like, I mean, for a bunch of reasons recently, but the format of MPL and Rivals in particular, like, just kind of auto disqualified anyone who like had anything else to do than play Magic.
Yeah. So this marks the end of pro Magic in general. If anyone read this article, basically what they said is that, well, they didn't actually say it in the article. They said it in some tweets responding to people asking questions about the article on Twitter. But
perfect.
They do expect to bring back PTQs, Grand Prix, or Pro Tour-like events in some form. They didn't say for sure that they were coming back. But what they did say in the article was that basically there won't be any Pro Players Club or anything like that coming back ever. So there will be no option for basically the pro Magic player to exist anymore. And I mean, that's kind of sad when you think about it.
Yeah, that feels like an overcompensation. Just axing this system and replacing it with nothing. I guess the people who are like pretty enfranchised in the system could probably like build their own pro tier sort of. I mean, like they could still travel once GPs are reinstated. They could, but I guess unless they significantly ramp up pricing for these events, the people who used to be like gold or silver or whatever tiered pros, which was a long time ago when they had that system, but they received more than just winnings, right? Like there was some extra compensation for them being pros, or am I misremembering?
Well, so beforehand, there was the Pro Players Club, right? There was silver, gold, and platinum. And basically, for gold and platinum, like gold and platinum qualified you for all the Pro Tours in the given season. And they also got you appearance fees. So if you showed up to a Grand Prix, you got an appearance fee. You showed up to the Pro Tour, you got an appearance fee. I think they also helped out with like hotels or flights.
Travel and stuff.
Yeah, travel.
That's a ton of it.
But like I don't really remember for sure. But there were like, they weren't paid much, but they were paid something to help, offset the costs of going to these events and stuff. And they just straight up said that this isn't going to return. But they do imagine Pro Tour-like events returning. So, but that could kind of mean anything, right? Like, I don't know if that means they're going to be going back to the sort of system we had most recently where there were like regional Pro Tours only and there was no crossover between like North America, Europe, Asia, that sort of thing, or if it'll be going back to, one Pro Tour where everyone went to play, that sort of thing. So obviously it's all very open-ended right now. All we know for sure is that there will be no pro play, like no actual pro Magic players at all anymore. There will be no pro point system. There will be no pro, gauntlet, MPL Rivals. It's done.
I guess there's still got to be like, well, they mentioned that set championships are going to continue. Did they say explicitly if those are going to be on Arena or are they going to transition those to paper? In any case, there's got to be some sort of like qualifying system for those. Yeah. I imagine like quote pro players are still going to be around. You're still going to see all the names at the top qualifying for all these events. You're going to see the same names on coverage, however they do it. But yeah, kind of weird that.
Well, we don't actually know if we'll be seeing the same names, right? Like they didn't say anything about if there will be a way for you to chain events together, or because that was part of what the system did before with gold, platinum, silver.
That's
it
true.
allowed you to chain events together. And like that isn't necessarily the case right now outside of MPL Rivals, right? So
Maybe this is going to be like the ultimate experiment, the ultimate test of what we've sort of been saying, that like, yeah, the pro players are good because they get in a lot of practice and they play a lot of games, but like they're not unfathomably better at the game than like some good hobby players and stuff. They're not as untouchable as coverage sometimes makes them seem. Maybe this will be the great experiment. Like if a bunch of the standard names we've come to expect to see in coverage like get churned through the system and aren't going to every event, and it's like, Bob the Builder and Tom the Lawyer like showing up. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I like with the death of Pro Magic, it really makes me think like when it comes to premier level competitive play, is something like the SCG Tour what we're going to look to now as like the like epitome of competitive Magic?
I mean, that's what's happened in other games, right? I'm not super familiar with the Counter-Strike scene, but I'm pretty sure Valve just didn't set up a pro scene of their own at all and let third parties do it. And they sort of ran the whole thing. All those tournaments were organized by fans and players of the game, and that became their pro scene. And I think Valve ended up supporting it at some point. Same sort of thing happened with StarCraft. Like, sort of the pinnacle tournament, GSL, is in Korea. And Blizzard has nothing to do with it. People just set up their own tournament, and that's what everyone sort of looks to for the best players now. So
yeah,
communities can definitely set it up if WotC doesn't intervene.
Well, that's the thing. Like, because WotC still requires these large companies to like sanction all of their events, right? If they're putting money on the line and stuff. And I wonder if that's even necessary anymore. If like WotC isn't supporting some kind of like actual organized play structure, like do you actually need WotC to sanction your events anymore? Or are companies just going to be allowed to go do whatever they want?
What used to happen? Like if some big tournament, if some company rented a convention hall and said, we're hosting like a MTG tournament the size of a Grand Prix and we're calling it something else, like what would WotC do?
Well, it still had to be like a sanctioned WotC event. You had to use their software, all that
but
stuff.
Why? You didn't have to. You could just do it yourself. Why didn't people? Did you go after them in the past?
Maybe. I'm not too sure what it was like when it came to rules like that.
If you just get a bunch of people together who own Magic cards, you can have a tournament. You just give them money.
Yeah.
So I wonder like what the preventions were in place. Why the sort of I wouldn't be surprised if WotC was stifling a secondary scene because they were sort of control freaks about this. But yeah, maybe they'll just let it go now. I doubt it, but
I really wonder what's going to come from this. But I mean, honestly, like I don't necessarily think it would be a bad thing if the SCG Tour became like the epitome of high level Magic, because I mean they always did a great job with running their events. Their coverage is 1,000,000 times better than any WotC product ever was. And I mean, if they're the place to be, like their events are just going to keep growing and growing, right? So
yeah, they were already basically GPs. Like they can do it, and they have shown that they can do it better than WotC. Like
they
had storylines for their common players. Like they did really well.
That's the thing, right? They marketed their players like 1,000,000 times better than WotC ever did with like the MPL, right? So I don't know. Like one of the huge issues here though is like what happens to players that are outside of the US, right? When it comes to competing on a larger scale. Because I mean, there isn't really a SCG equivalent in like Europe. I'm not too sure about Asia, but I don't think so. Latin America, definitely not. Like in Canada, definitely not either. Like we have to go down to the States, but
yeah,
like us to the least extent.
Maybe there are companies that have been doing tournaments in those places just not broadcasting in languages that I'd watch. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm worried for everyone who isn't in NA when it comes to this kind of stuff, because I think when it comes to a competitive Magic circuit per se, I think it is incredibly important for these events to not only be like incredibly popular, but to have good coverage behind it, right? Because it's when you have that, you're going to get more players coming out because they want to be recognized, on coverage, and it all ties together, right? So
yeah, I mean, I assume, like they said, they're trying to bring back GPs, right? Those are probably going to be all over the world like they used to be. So those will be options for players. Well, and I assume GPs will qualify in some way for whatever this Pro Tour event is they're planning.
Well, maybe you assume that, but they didn't really give us an inkling. Maybe we get Magic Fest back, and really all it is there's a bunch of fun side events. There's the Command Fest, but no actual main event that qualifies you for anything, right? It could just be like a small cash tournament or something.
I don't want to put it past WotC to mess it up that badly, but the more you mention it,
think about it, you're going to show up to this thing. They're going to make you pay $100 for your entry fee because that's what they'll do. And then first place will be $3,000, right?
Yeah.
And then they're just the money from that event they're going to make off all the Commander players that show up for their Command event, right? If there's no actual pro circuit that these Grand Prix are qualifying you for, or no bigger event that you're working towards qualifying, people aren't going to be traveling all over the place to these things. So they're just going to be smaller by nature, right? Maybe early on they'll be okay because everyone will be so eager to get back to playing in person and competing. But if these events don't have any prestige or qualification path for people to play at a higher level, I don't really see them sustaining really in any way. I don't know.
I'm gonna hope that that's not what happens. I mean, there's a small chance I could see them messing it up that badly, but I'm gonna try not to think about it. I'm gonna hope that's not what happens. And if in some crazy twist of fate that is what they decide to do, I'm gonna hope that SCG starts hosting back alley tournaments. I'll go to those.
Yeah, really, all they need to do is they need to bring back Pro Tours in some sense, but I don't give a shit about the Pro Players Club and platinum status, appearance fees. I don't think that's necessary, but you have to make these events feel prestigious for the players who are trying to qualify for them. And even if you aren't even if it isn't a $1 million prize pool, that's less important than just having this event feel prestigious, right? And you need to be able to chain them together. So whether you have some kind of point system that you can accumulate from GPs, literally just bring back the old system, but without appearance fees. And I'm sure that would be I'm sure people wouldn't be totally happy with it, but it's 100 times better than just no system at all.
I mean, I kind of like that thinking. Since there's not going to be registered pros and there's not going to be appearance fees, however they were supporting them, they used to offer flights if you won a PTQ. You'd win flights along with it to wherever the PT was. And I think even just doing that is so good for local Magic. When PTQs switched to PPTQs and flights stopped being included, we would still sort of travel around to local towns to go play events, but they weren't these huge things that they weren't the sort of mini GP that they used to be. I think even just something as simple as a hotel voucher and a flight, or even just a flight, will get people in nearby cities traveling to play Magic more. You only have to pay out a small portion of them, but it just will revitalize the local scenes so much as there's something to actually play for.
Mm-hmm. No, that's the thing. And I could theoretically, okay, I think this system would actually be relatively good if you have, like, you bring back GPs, bring back PTQs, obviously. They qualify you for a regional, like, Pro Tour event. You have one for Europe, you have one for Asia, you have one for North America, you have one for Latin America. I'm not sure. As long as Grand Prix and PTQ opportunities are established enough in these different areas that you can actually get a reasonable amount of people qualifying for them, like specifically for Latin America, who like never gets GPs, is what I'm mostly worried about. I think you could sustain like a regional Pro Tour system, and then you have your like 1 or 2 regional Pro Tours across a season in each area, and then the top X players from each regional Pro Tour play in the World Championship. And then like that's a good enough system, you know? Because I think it is important to have at least one big major event a year where you have crossovers from all the different places in the world. But aside from that, just leave it regionally. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, these are all would be good suggestions. Much better than what they have been doing, but
yeah. I don't know.
Seems like Watson is kind of allergic to going backwards for some reason. Like they had a good system in the past and then they just tampered with it endlessly.
Yeah. And like they say digital play is here to stay. It's not. It's obviously not going to go anywhere. There's going to be a mix of digital and in-person events. Like maybe you could qualify for these regional Pro Tours through Arena or whatever, or Arena just has its own separate, you know, worldwide digital Pro Tour that you can qualify through only through Arena, and then Paper is its own separate path, different event cycle.
Yeah, you might have to keep them separate because otherwise, I guess you could combine them. But like if someone qualifies on Arena and just doesn't own Paper cards, maybe they got into Magic over the pandemic and they don't have like an in-person friend group that they've established to borrow cards from, and then you tell them they have to go play a Paper event. It could be a bit jarring, but it's a minor thing.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm just not optimistic at all that whatever system they actually put forth will be in any way, shape, or form good. Just because they've been literally every system they've come out with for the past, what was it, like 3 years, they've been saying over and over, oh, we've got great ideas coming down the pipeline. It's going to be awesome. And it's just every single time it's been horrible. And it's been getting worse and worse.
From a PR strategy perspective, if you had a system that you were really confident everyone would like, that you were proud of, that you thought would revitalize play in 2021, 2022, would you start with this very weak half announcement?
Dude, honestly, I just don't think they have any idea what they're going to do.
Why even say anything at this point? I guess because they have to tell everyone that they're phasing out MPL.
Yeah, like I think that's the thing, right? I think they were more worried that if they didn't, like I think they obviously 1,000% knew that the MPL and Rivals hasn't been working. I think they've known this for a long time, and they've finally decided that we're going to axe this. This isn't working. And I think they have no idea what the hell they're going to do to replace it. But they just wanted to get the word out that they're axing it as early as they possibly could to minimize the backlash. I think that has to be it.
That's definitely how this feels. It's a backlash minimization thing.
Right, because
I was thinking that it was padding the blow for like a poor system they were going to announce. But maybe, they don't have anything.
I think they're just trying to minimize the backlash and give all the players who are actually in this system right now as enough notice as they possibly could give them that they're going to be losing their jobs, right? So I think that's where this whole article comes from. But like clearly they don't have any idea what the hell they're going to do. And they like hinted at some stuff in like answers to the tweets that we already mentioned. But I really just don't think they have any clue. And I'm not optimistic in any way, shape, or form. I've just been so utterly like defeated when it comes to OP after the absolute dumpster fire the past few years are. And it's just like, I can't even remember the last time I played an actual Magic tournament.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Like Not
Would have
just
been the
even
last
in
GP we
person,
went
but
to, right?
like I think early on when the SCG tour started doing their like satellite events and stuff, I played in a couple. Played in like maybe the first two, and I just haven't played an event since. Just because, like, I don't know.
Dude, our intro's been way off for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It just with no like path to realistically like reach a pro tour like event, it just like it's lost all its like draw for me. I don't know. Because like really when it comes to competitive Magic, all like really my one goal for the longest time was just to qualify for a pro tour. And that's literally all I ever wanted to do. And then
there's just
like,
no path anymore. Like,
yeah.
yeah, these like one-off events you could play and maybe like win some cash, but
yeah, and then like with
if
MPL,
you spike a one-off
yeah.
event, it's like, okay.
It's just been like, just a shit show. And I just feel super defeated about the whole thing. And I just don't think whatever system they do bring forth is going to be any bit reasonable at all. But
well, at least you're in a position where you can be impressed. You probably can't be disappointed.
yeah, that's, I guess. if you expect to be disappointed, I mean.
Yeah, you're either right, which is a good feeling, or they come up with something good.
Or they surprise you, and yeah. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Clearly, like, there are tons of ways that they could take this that could actually be good, but obviously, based on the track record, there's no reason to think they would ever do anything like that. So I'm just ready to be disappointed. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out in a year and a half.
That's how long it takes them to cook up some system.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, the 2021 and 2022 season are just going to be ending out the rivals in MPL. So they already know what next season looks like. So they don't have to decide what the season after is going to be for a long time. So we're just going to remain in this horrible limbo state that we've been in for what feels like forever already. And they'll have just so much more time to come up with an even worse system. So can't wait. Can't wait.
Well, maybe this will excite you about Magic. You know how Standard's been kind of stale?
Yeah.
There's been a small ripple on the surface of Standard's pond. Did you see this new Mardu sacrifice deck that's been floating around just a bit?
No, I haven't.
So I actually didn't know about it, except it earned its own row in an MTG data WinReg Matrix post.
Oh.
Which means that like enough people played it that it wasn't just called Other.
Interesting.
And this deck, surprisingly, has a bunch of Strixhaven cards. Centered around Extus.
Okay.
What's his name? Auric Overlord? Anyway, Extus, the backside of which is Awaken the Blood avatar. I assume that's the half being cast more often. And otherwise, it's like a Bastion of Remembrance deck to ping people out, playing things like Serrated Scorpion, playing Eye Twitch to sack, playing Hunt for Specimens. Crocs is there as well, because, I mean, you're a black-red deck, and Woe Strider. But, yeah, just playing a bunch of little guys and sacking them to make a 3/5 with Awaken the Blood avatar, getting pings and drains. And
this has to be like a Plum the Forgotten deck, right?
Yeah, it's got Plum the Forbidden.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen like, not necessarily Mardu, but I've seen other builds of like this kind of shell floating around early, but none of them ever really impressed me that much. But I mean, I guess it is good to see something finally having some success that isn't just the old decks.
Yeah, I mean, this Awaken the Blood avatar card, I was kind of curious about it and sort of wrote it off if Brazen Boar was really popular, because, you know, putting all these resources to make a token is a bit iffy. But I don't know if Brazen Boar were ticked down in popularity or what happened there. I think it's Sultai and Rogues at the top, so maybe it did. But yeah, I mean, if you've just got a bunch of guys around that you don't mind sacking, like a pretty cheap 3/5 that domes when it attacks and like has haste and double strike or whatever it's got, It can be strong.
Curious. Well, it's good to see. I think when it comes to Historic is starting to lose a bit of its grip. All I've been hearing about is how busted the Tainted Pact combo deck is, and that people are expecting it to not last another couple weeks.
Oh,
especially after the MPL Rivals League weekend this weekend. I've been hearing a lot of people are playing it, and it's incredibly busted.
That generally happens with combo decks.
Yeah.
Especially new combo decks.
It is funny, though, that the deck can win on turn 3, but just not actually on Arena because the rope doesn't allow you to do it.
That's hilarious.
Because you'll
wait. I think I heard Benson mention something about this. If you stack the triggers correctly, and then you let the rope run out while Tainted Pact is resolving, it just auto exiles them all for you, so you don't have to click.
Yeah. So see, but the thing is, you can't win on turn 3 doing that way, because to do it on turn 3, you have to Tainted Pact on your opponent's end step, and then if you rope out, you'll just draw your entire deck and lose the game on your draw step. But what you can do is if you have 4 lands in play, you can cast your, what's the name of the card? The combo.
Oh, the Oracle?
Oracle. You can cast your Thassa's Oracle, and then trigger on the stack, cast your Tainted Pact, rope out, draw your entire deck, and then win automatically. So it works in that sense. But if you actually wanted to do it on turn 3, you have to have the APM of an absolute StarCraft god. And it's just not possible. I
don't even know if you could, because the animation has to play in between each click.
It's not actually possible because of the rope.
That's unfortunate. I mean, I was sort of a champion a while back in a couple arguments that once you get used to the Arena AI, you can do anything that you could have done in paper. And so it's the same abstract game. But that's kind of an issue. I wonder if they'll add a streamline button, or if how they're going to address that. Because I really don't like the idea of Arena being a literal different game in abstract than paper Magic.
Yeah. I mean, well, it kind of always has been since Arena came out. There's always been issues with certain cards that you haven't been able to play with them like you would have been able to, right? This goes all the way back to the whole Legion War Boss issue, right? Where the client wouldn't give you priority to kill it before
that's true.
Moving to combat. Yeah. There's always been a card or something that just hasn't worked like it would work in paper.
Yeah, the War Boss thing was bad, but that one, even without fixing it, if you constantly had a stop on your opponent's first main, you could make it work like paper, which is super annoying.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to do that, but you could still technically make Arena work. But yeah, it is annoying that these issues have been around.
But yeah, so I imagine what's been holding this deck back so far from absolutely destroying the format has been its unplayability with the Arena rope. So I can only imagine that if you could play this deck like you should be able to, that it'd probably get axed at an instant. But
maybe they knew what they were doing. They know Historic's not a paper format.
Yeah, I get you could be right. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens this weekend. But yeah, the MPL Rivals are playing a league weekend this weekend. I'm not sure if anyone actually cares at this point. So we're not going to waste any time previewing it or anything like that, because I mean, people don't actually watch these events, and I'm sure people don't actually care about them either, especially now after the announcement.
Hey, they're playing for a world championship spot. That's going to be exciting. And who knows? The announcement, they say that they're not playing to qualify for another MPL Rivals season, sure. But who knows? The announcement could have them qualifying for any number of things. It's sort of a what's in the box.
Yeah, who knows? Honestly, I wonder, that is another thing. I wonder if there even will be a world championship.
What do you mean? They said they're qualifying for one, right? I assume they're going to do it.
No. After after MPL and Rivals dies and we go to our new system, like, I wonder if there would even be a world championship.
Who knows?
Like, if there's no pro play system, like, do you actually need a world championship? No, right? Does it make sense to have one? Probably not.
They could bring back nationals. People love nationals. Have nationals that qualifies for a world championship as like a second parallel system. That'd be great.
Yeah, it would be, but the fact that it would be great means it's probably not going to happen, Kim. Let's be honest.
You're just so crushed.
Speaking about things that are great, though, our sponsor, wizardtower.com. Check them out for all your Magic signal needs. You know, I recently sold a bunch of cards to them. It was quick. It was easy. They handled, they processed my buy list incredibly fast. I got to see the outside of their brand new location.
How's it look?
Looks good. Looks real good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a nice spot too. So big shout out to them.
Exterior is important.
Yeah.
Catch the eye, draw in passerbys.
Yeah, the one thing I will know for sure though is that when Paper Magic is allowed to come back, you definitely count on Wizard Tower to hold awesome, great local events. So shout out to them.
Did they keep the dragon sign?
No. It's their actual logo on the front now.
That dragon was great.
Yeah, so outside of this organized play, I guess, pseudo announcement that we got, we do have some more spoilers to talk about for Historic Anthology 5, which is coming in exactly
27th.
So 2 weeks away. And Cam, I got to say, looking at the spoilers so far, I sure am glad that someone at WotC listens to this stupid podcast and has decided to put cards that will actually make an impact into the next Historic Anthology.
There's some big ones here.
There are some actually like big ones, right? Like so far, notables, Atarka's Command, Dramoka's Command, alongside Ojutai's Command, Salamgar's Command. We haven't seen Kolaghan's Command yet, but I would imagine that if we have these other four, that we're going to have that one as well.
It'd be so weird if they left it out. I don't know why they didn't spoil it. If it is going to be there, but...
Well, there's still...
I think there's loves half announcements, right?
I think there's still 8 cards to be spoiled. So we're still working our way there. But
we saw last week that Vorinclex is in the Historic Anthology. Now we know that Shieldred, Whispering One, and Urabrask the Hidden. No mention of Jin Gitaxis or the one that would be extremely exciting, Elishnorn. Well, because there are quite the Reanimator cards available in Historic.
Jin Gitaxis was spoiled. It is.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you the list I'm looking at. It has every card that's been spoiled so far.
I found some article talking about the list I made, and it wasn't there. But
yeah, it's linking it to you now in the group chat.
But again, like imagining that if the other 4 are here, Elishnorn will show up, and if she does, there's things like Burial Rites to just put it into play, and Elishnorn, a classic of Reanimator decks to just dominate the battlefield.
Exactly. So not only do we have these, more interesting big creatures to reanimate, some really good role players, or some really good sideboard cards as well. I mean, Ancient Grudge, Ray of Revelation, these are like huge sideboard cards. Relic of Progenitus. I mean, this is like one of the best graveyard hate cards. I mean, we have relic-like effects already in Historic, but I mean, this one has to be the best out of all of them, I would think.
I mean, the effects we have, you have to choose between hitting the graveyard or drawing a card, right? Relic just does both.
Yep. Some pretty good support cards like Ichor Wellspring. I mean, there are artifact combo decks that already exist in the format. This is a card that has always been included in decks like that.
Dude, they're going to print Krark Clan Ironworks. I know it.
Stop. Vault Scourge as well.
That was on Phyrexia or Mirrodin or whatever it was at the time. That's where that card's from, right? And we've got all these Praetors. They're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, alongside that, Vault Scourge as well, which is in older formats, has been a pretty important piece of affinity style artifact aggressive decks. I mean, there's already kind of a deck like that in Historic with the Tempered Steel deck. This card was played in the Tempered Steel standard deck when it was in standard. So, I think that's a great addition as well. On the artifact theme too, Court Homunculus, a 1-mana 2/2, essentially in these artifact decks. This is another great pickup for those strategies. And we also have Trash for Treasure, which is not a fair artifact card, but is definitely been used to do some gross things in artifact combo decks. So,
yeah, I saw an article. Well, the article I was looking at for this list that mentioned that, like off the top of the writer's head, Bolas's Citadel is probably the best thing to cheat in.
Yep.
Those decks already play Gilded Goose. Like they have food lying around that you can sack to this thing. Trash for Treasure. So
yeah, I don't think we have any, like we don't have like a Blightsteel Colossus or anything, giant or game ending like that.
Not that
but
huge.
Yeah, Bolas's Citadel is a huge one. I imagine people will try and make that work. I mean, this card alongside Ichor Wellspring with Bolas's Citadel, I think that's a nice little package right there you already have. Moving away from artifacts, a legacy staple in Stifle being added, Historic Anthology 5. I don't expect Stifle to see much play. I mean, this isn't legacy. This is not a fetch land format. But nonetheless.
Yeah, this is just sort of what I've picked up from hearing other people talk about it. But my understanding of Stifle and Legacy is that it's very good against storm triggers and at ranching people's lands. And even then, it's not always played. And so, yeah, like for the same reason that Brainstorm isn't as strong in Historic as it would be in Legacy, Stifle won't be as strong because not everyone's fetching. But maybe there's some effect. It could be a good sideboard card.
Yeah,
I mean, some deck that you need to stop a particular trigger on.
That is true. We do have a lot. Well, now after the Mystical Archive, there were a lot of pretty dangerous storm cards added to the format. So having Stifle at least as a check to that could be pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I think it's just a net positive for the format.
Yeah. Other good ones here. Intangible Virtue was played pretty heavily when it was in standard. Specifically in the block format, well, alongside Lingering Souls. But I mean, this is definitely a card that token-style decks would want to take advantage of. Definitely has a chance of making some kind of impact. Whether or not it actually sees much play is yet to be seen. But I think still, like, all of these cards we've mentioned so far could actually see play in Historic.
They have seen play in the past in, like, relevant formats.
Yeah. Like, and we're thinking back to just the last Historic Anthology that included cards like Spider Spawning, which never saw any constructed play ever, right? Like every single card we've mentioned so far has seen some sort of play in a constructed format. You've also got Merfolk Looter. It's seen constructed play.
The namesake itself.
Yeah. Whirler Rogue, like even Whirler Rogue did see some constructed play when it was in standard. Reverse Engineer saw some fringe constructed play when it was in standard. This one I'm least excited
Whirler
about.
Rogue in that like blue colorless Eldrazi deck. This thing was just making Reality Smashers unblockable.
Yeah, like I don't expect Whirler Rogue will make much of an impact. The Reverse Engineer might actually, because there are some, pretty gross artifact combo decks, which I already mentioned, kind of on the fringe of the format. I'm just mostly mad
very
that
strong in Paradox Engine.
Yeah, I'm just kind of tilted that they didn't include this in Kaladesh Remastered, and instead it's taking up a slot in the Historic Anthology. But that is what it is. And
they kind of do that a lot, which is strange.
Yeah, we've also got Dragonstorm, which was a incredibly powerful card in Standard when it was in Standard. I'm not too sure if it has the capability to make it in Historic, but nonetheless, it has a pretty storied history around this card.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I've mentioned all of them except perhaps one of my most favorite cards.
Yeah, they gave you Grizzly Salvage.
Grizzly Salvage, Cam. They gave me Grizzly Salvage.
Every time a card like this has been spoiled in the last 5 years, you've said, it ain't a Grizzly Salvage, though.
Man, I don't know if it's going to be good, but boy, am I glad it exists. And you bet your ass I'm going to try and make a Grizzly Salvage Unburial Rights deck work. And try and live the dream like I did in the good old days of Standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super nice enabler card for those things.
Yeah.
Give us Elishnorn and it'll all be good.
Yeah, so
Reanimator.
We'll have to wait and see what else we get. I do expect we will get Kolaghan's Command as we have the other 4. Elishnorn I would expect to get as well, as we have the other 4 from that cycle. Yeah, I mean, man, Atarka's Command, that card was a powerhouse when it was in Standard. It's because it'd be some pretty gross Atarka's Command burn decks, I imagine.
I died to that card so much, man.
Oh, God, yeah, me too.
Screw that card.
Yeah, Jermoka's Command as well. Man, that card's so good.
Well, I'm just going to stabilize with this Rhino. You can't give light 3-you. Next turn, you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just I can't tell you. The early part of this episode was a lot of, somber news, not a lot of great stuff, pretty down in the dumps. But these cards, compared to what we got for the last Historic Anthology, I'm excited. I'm very happy that we seem to have turned a corner when it comes to these anthologies. And now they're actually putting a little bit more thought into the cards they're adding and looking to make additions that might actually make an impact in the format, which is great.
I'm pretty sure I spent the gems on the last one just in case I need the cards for something and haven't used them. I'm going to spend the gems on this one too, but I'm going to be happier about it.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to wait and see it. Like I said, I think there's 8 more they have to add because it's 25 cards total. We have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Oh, wait, maybe it's less. Yeah, maybe it's only a couple more. So we'll have to wait and see. 5 more cards. So if we assume 2 of them round out the cycles that we've seen so far, then there's 3 other cards. It could be anything.
Clark Clan Ironworks. That's in there. There's 2 more cards. Dude, they've said, we've already seen that they are willing to print combo decks that rope out on Arena.
Yeah, true. It's very true. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. I don't even know if it would be good.
You got Ulamog. Is Scrap Trawler in Historic?
No, I don't think so. Is it? Oh, it might be. It actually might be.
Let me Google it.
Was it in... It was Kaladesh, right? It might have been in Kaladesh Remastered.
Yeah. What does Scryfall say? Legal in Historic. Yeah, we have it.
It's there. But there isn't Mox Opal, which was pretty...
Yeah, I got Mox Amber.
Yeah, not the same, though. Not the same.
Not quite, but Historic also isn't modern. We can adjust.
No Ancient Stirrings either. That was a pretty important part of that deck.
And we have Abundant Harvest.
Yeah. Ooh, you're right. Is that... Interesting. You know what? That just got me thinking. Is Abundant Harvest... I haven't played Modern in a long time. I wonder if Abundant Harvest is better than Ancient Stirrings and Tron.
I don't think it is. Just because, it maybe, but I would suspect that it's not, because you're hunting not just for a land, but oftentimes you need a particular land. So if you the 5 you look at has multiple, you want the tower you're missing, not just the first land.
Yeah, see, that's true, but you don't always see a land in those top 5s, Cam. I don't know.
That's true.
I'm pretty disconnected from the format, and I haven't played Tron in a long time, but I wonder if there's something there. Regardless, it's not a relevant format. We're talking about Modern, so doesn't matter. But anyway, Historic Anthology 5, looking pretty good. I imagine by the next episode, we will know what exactly the last 5 cards will be. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Do not. This is my long shot. If I hit this, if it's Crook on Ironworks, I'm gonna ride that for a year.
I would be shocked, but I would be also very hyped that you called it.
I'll bet you $1.
You'll bet me $1? Done.
That's how confident I am. $1.
Easy money. All right. Well, I think that's all I've got, unless you've got something.
No, not really. I've just been losing a bunch in draft.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I just keep getting confused. I've been keeping track of the decks that have done well, and they're all sort of more aggressive than I would have expected draft decks could be. So I'm going to try and aggro some people out some more maybe, but otherwise I've just been kind of losing gems.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you all for joining the club this week. Make sure, as always, check out that sponsor, wizardtower.com, for all your Magic single needs. If you want to support the show, you can find us on Patreon, and you can find links to all of our other content on our website, dwc.gg. And you have your listen to the show, whether it's Podbean, iTunes, any podcast app, leave a review, rate the podcast, share it with your friends. Everything helps keep this thing growing, bring it to new listeners. Thanks for listening. Catch you all next week.
Dude, I figured it out. Of course, we're not excited for organized play, but if they were to announce disorganized play.
Oh, DWC tournament series circuit becomes the new, the new premier Magic level event.
That'd be hype.
Yeah.
Anyway, see you later, guys.